Hello there, this is David. My name is David Colyer, and I'm playing at the moment, and I think I'm going to tell a story. The story might be a little bit true, the story might be a little bit fiction, the story might be a little bit fantasy, the story might be a little delusional. It's definitely going to contain some nonsense. So anyway, as you see, I'm here kind of spinning it, well, not spinning, but twisting. Perhaps that's a sign of maybe a little bit of nervousness, insecurity, uncertainty. What the hell am I doing? I don't know, but this is a test video. I've got the phone set up to take the full shot, so the entire screen as I'm looking at it is occupied by the video. As you can see by the background, I'm in somebody's garage. It's not my garage. I'm not going to tell you whose garage it is, but it's a garage, it's a workshop. And here I am trying to figure out what it is that I want to say on this video, and here you are watching, trying to figure out what the hell is he talking about and why am I here watching it. Like I said, there's going to be some nonsense, and there's going to be some fiction and some fact all mixed in. It might even be some confusion. So let's begin the story. Once upon a time there was what was there once upon a time? I don't know. I've been looking for answers for a long time, like, who am I? What am I? Where am I? Why am I here? Wherever here is. There's multiple answers to that. On the surface, well, who am I? My name is David. Who am I? I'm a human being. Who am I? I'm an earthling. Who am I? I'm somebody's son. Who am I? I'm somebody's brother. Who am I? I'm somebody's cousin. Who am I? I'm somebody's enemy. Really? Somebody's enemy? Probably so. Whether I'm aware of it or not, whether I want to be or not, somebody considers me to be their enemy, I imagine. I'm also somebody's friend, and hopefully a lot of people's friends, or at least they perceive to be. I think I am. I don't know. Maybe not. But I'm and a storyteller, not a very good storyteller apparently, because here I am. Listen at this. But basically, at one point, I considered myself at one point in my life, I was highly certain about this. The certainty that I had was that I considered myself to be one of the most confused individuals on the planet that we live on. I was extremely confused. And how did I get confused? Well, just part of life. As a young boy, 2 years old, I have this memory. It's goofy, isn't it? I had this memory of being 2 years old, hearing my parents argue. One of them said, "Fuck you," to the other one. I don't remember which one said those two words. Maybe they both said it to each other. But I do remember it happened inside the house, and I remember I stepped outside the house into the fenced-in yard that we had. And I remember seeing what I recall being a teenager walking down the street, and I said two words to that teenager. I have no idea who he was, but I repeated the words that I heard. I said, "Fuck you," to that teenager walking down the street. My mom heard me. My mom reprimanded me. My mom displayed some emotions I wasn't accustomed to seeing coming toward me. And she put soap in my mouth. Some nasty ass tasting, terrible tasting soap in my mouth. I'm 2 years old. Why am I remembering this? Well, it was a traumatic experience for me at the age of 2. Looking back on it, it's like, well, it's just a childhood experience. But at the time, it was traumatic to me. And why was it so traumatic? In part, I think, because I became quite confused. Why am I being treated this way? Why is this nasty crap in my mouth, this soap? Why is she putting soap in my mouth that tastes terrible? Why is she doing this? Well, she's doing this because I said something which was just a repeating what she said or what my dad said, one of the two. Whereas prior to that moment, every time I repeated what somebody said, I got rewarded. You know, I was learning to talk, and it's like they were teaching me to talk, and they enjoyed hearing me talk. Well, sometimes they enjoyed hearing me talk. Maybe up to that point they enjoyed hearing me talk because you're repeating what they were saying, and it's getting me to do that. So I was accustomed to getting kudos or attaboys, you know, positive stuff flowing toward me whenever I would say something. And now all of a sudden I say something, same thing I've been doing before. I heard it, I said it. I heard it, I said it. But now I'm getting treated different. Now I'm getting put in pain, emotional pain. And I didn't know the terminology back then, but I was experiencing emotional pain, and I was experiencing cognitive upset as well. You know, maybe, I don't know if it's cognitive dissonance or whatever, the cognitive something, but it's like it confused me. I remember going into confusion, and that's my first moment of confusion that I recall. And I came across that some time ago, back in the, I don't know, mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s, something of that nature, when I was looking for answers to the question, why am I the way I am? Why do I do the things I do? Why do I sometimes continue to do the things I decided to stop doing even after I decided to stop doing them? Basic questions. And of course, these led to other questions. Well, if I'm looking for answers to why am I the way I am, well, how is it that I am? And then all of a sudden I realize, well, how is it that I am that I perceive myself to be? How is it that I am that other people perceive me to be? And why is it that a variety of people perceive me to be a variety of different ways? And then there's the thing, well, what way is it that I actually am? Because it's like, I perceived me some way, John perceived me some way, Harry perceived me some way, Claudia perceived me some way. I don't know who Harry was. That's a made up name. But John was a friend of mine in high school. And I'm rambling when I talk. I told you it's going to be a story. So there's different things, and some's factual and some's fictional. Harry was a fictional thing apparently, because I don't. Oh no, there's Harry. Harry was a television character. I think played like an ape or something. I don't know. Something with Harry. I don't recall the name. But anyway, what am I talking about? See, there's confusion. I've got you confused now, because I am such a confused individual. I'm highly certain about that. Now, isn't that kind of like a perplexity? I'm certain that I'm confused, but I'm confused about what certainty is. You know, what is the, not necessarily what certainty is, but what is it that I truly am? What is it that I am truly doing? You know? But continuing on this thing about confusion and how I got to be so confused, fast forward from 2 years, I mean, 2 years old was just a 2-year-old thing. And so, okay, traumatic things going to happen to kids, little kids. They're just part of life, apparently. Apparently, it also sticks with a person for a while. I'm 64 years old now, and I was 2 years old at that point, from what I recall. That's 62 years ago. One would think I'd get over it by now and have some clarity, certainty, and some closure on it, maybe. But it was really got me confused back then. But anyway, fast forward to I was 10 years old, going to Elmwood Elementary School, 4th grade. And I remember being educated to believe the Darwin theory. Now, granted, I understand now at this point theory is not fact, but at the time I was operating on the mindset, the belief system of the programming I was operating on was whatever was being taught to me in school was true. So when the teacher said, and the book said, that humans evolved from apes, well, I accepted that as a fact. Prior to that, I mean, going at a young age, you know, somewhere after 2, but before 10, you know, watching cartoons. I remember as a very young child, I got this idea in my head because of watching cartoons. Storks were delivering babies. So where did babies come from? Storks brought them to the house. How did the stork get them? I don't remember. I don't know. But I do remember at a young age, I had the misconception that babies came from storks. Storks delivered babies to people's homes, and that's how people became mom and dad, because a stork brought them a baby and dropped it off, and voila, there's a family. I believed that watching cartoons. I was very gullible as a child, young child. So anyway, coming forward, somewhere along the ways I realized, no, that's not really where babies come from. That's just a cartoon. I had a misunderstanding. Babies come out of mommy's belly. Didn't know how babies got in mommy's bellies, but you know, that's where they came from. And so I accepted that as truth. So now my reality had changed, where I didn't have any thoughts of where babies came from. It was then put into my mind by watching something for entertainment purposes. It was put into my mind that babies were delivered by storks. How they came into existence, there was no thought of that. But then somewhere along the way, somebody put it in my head, well, babies come into existence by something happens between a man and a woman, and they come out of the baby's belly. And I was young, so okay, I accepted that. And then, you know, like 10 years of age, you know, now I'm being taught in 4th grade a whole lot of different subjects. And one of them was like, well, the origin of man. Where did man come from? Man evolved from ape. Darwin theory. They didn't say Darwin fact, but I accepted it as fact. So I was okay with that. Man came from apes. I kind of make jokes about it. Got great grandparents and such that were apes, or they were monkeys swinging from the tree. I was perfectly fine with that. I got no problem with that. But then at the age of 10, just shortly after being educated to believe the Darwin thing with the evolution, I was taken to a Southern Baptist church, specifically the Wyoming Baptist Church on Winton Road in Finneytown, Ohio, which is in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. That was not a good thing for me. It was not a good experience for me, being taken to that Southern Baptist church, because I arrived at that Southern Baptist church with the same mindset that I went to school. I trusted and believed the man that was speaking. And one of the first things he said during that first sermon, and every sermon, almost probably, for as far as I can recall, every sermon, so it's probably not necessarily every sermon, but a great number of sermons that I heard that man speak. I don't remember his name, but I remember he was, for an adult, he was kind of a short, fat, chubby person. And he'd sweat, he was always sweating, and he was always hitting the Bible with his hand, and he's hitting the pulpit with the Bible, and jumping up and pointing his finger. And his words quite commonly came out. And he wasn't talking to me specifically, only me. He was talking to the entire congregation. But again, I'm just a kid. I'm 10 years old, and I'm accepting everything as true. And I'm taking everything internally as it's directed at me. He yells out, "Born a sinner, you were born a sinner. You will always be a sinner. You'll never be anything but a sinner. Your good works do no good. Pridefulness is a sin. And repent, repent, repent. Oh yeah, and money is root of all evil." Well, that all went into my mind. I was like, I accepted it. Okay, well, born a sinner, always a sinner, never be anything but a sinner. Well, what exactly is a sinner? Oh, a sinner is a person that does bad things. And repent, well, what's that mean? Feel miserable about yourself for what you've done. That's the way I understood it to be. And good works do no good, which equated to me, well, why bother doing anything good then? And then money is root of all evil. Well, I don't know, but I accepted that. But I know when I look back at my experience, the home environment, there was a lot of chaos and upset and arguments and yelling and fighting and screaming that occurred, and cars getting repossessed, and a car got repossessed, and a truck got repossessed. Why? Because of lack of money. Not because of money was existing, but because there was a lack of money in the family. There was an insufficient number. I mean, it's like, my dad was a hard-working person, but he didn't get paid well enough to live the lifestyle that he and my mom were trying to live. My mom, she was a hard-working person too, raising the children. She didn't have a job to bring in money. She was raising the children. That was her job. So money was scarce. But this Baptist preacher convinced me to believe money is the root of all evil. Some other people later on says, no, I had a misunderstanding. He said what he meant was, or what I heard was, I don't know what I heard. I think what I heard was he said money is the root of all evil. But maybe he said it the other way. The love of money is the root of all evil. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's what he meant. Well, even that don't make sense to me at this particular age. But again, just like the confusions that I'm talking about, just my past story and confusions and what I wound up experiencing. Eventually I get to what I'm doing about it, or what I have been doing about it. But it didn't make sense to me. He's preaching money is root of all evil, or the love of money is root of all evil, but then he's setting a basket around asking for money and telling us that we're supposed to give 10% of all of our earnings, and we should feel miserable about ourselves for being alive, and it was like, you know, we're going to be rewarded financially if we give our 10%. We're going to get rewarded tenfold. Well, if money, or the love of money, is so evil, why does he want money? And why is he saying that we're going to get rewarded with tenfold the amount that we give? A bit confusing to me. So I don't know. Maybe he was confused himself. Maybe he had some misunderstandings. But this is part of my growing up experience. And then looking back on it, I realized, okay, I did not have low self-esteem up until I was taken to that Southern Baptist church, and I listened to that preacher, and I believed what that preacher told me. Born a sinner, always a sinner, never be anything but a sinner. Good works do good. Repent, repent, repent. You should feel miserable about yourself. Well, I obeyed. I began to feel miserable about myself, unfortunately. And I'm now 64 years old. I was then 10 years old. So there's 54 year span there. A great number of those 54 years I survived in extreme misery as a result of feeling miserable about myself, as a result of listening to that preacher, as a result of obeying what he told me to do. He told me to feel miserable about myself, what I've done, and what did I do? I got born. I didn't cause that to happen. I did not create this body. And whatever it is he says that I am that's going to hell for all eternity, well, I didn't create that either. I'm a product in the physical form, and I'm a product in the spiritual form. As far as I can tell, as far as I can understand with the definitions of words, words product, something that's produced, something that's created. And he's telling me that born a sinner, always a sinner, never anything but a sinner, and you're going to hell. Well, that going to hell, in modern day language, with computer language and stuff, that by default, it's like by default. You start up, you turn on a computer, and by default, certain windows open and certain programs start running in the background. It's by default because it's set that way, it's programmed that way. Well, whatever it is that created us, he called it God. It says it was by, with intention. Well, if God is all kind and all loving and all powerful and all generous and all these wonderful things that the man is telling me at different times in a sermon, why is he sending everybody to hell? Oh, well, because somebody else, the first two humans that he created on the planet, Adam and Eve, they committed the original sin. And because they created the original sin, all humans coming after them are going to suffer this hellfire and brimstone. That doesn't sound very kind and loving to me. So, there's some confusion come from there too. But that was something I've, had to face and deal with for a long time, and it really caused me a lot of misery thinking that. And my thoughts have kind of rambled from, I was going for a point earlier now. What was I talking about? I don't remember. What was I talking about? You might not. You're probably confused as much as I am. Maybe I confused you more. So let's take a look at that. I'm experiencing confusion. And while I'm experiencing confusion, what am I causing you to experience? Confusion. How certain are you about that? Do you have clarity on the idea that I caused you to experience confusion while I was experiencing confusion? My internal confusion emitted out, and even through this video, and you receiving it through the video, you already have experienced moments of confusion as a result of me experiencing confusion and you communicating with me via this video. Imagine if you were in the same space with me, the same close proximity, like where this phone is like approximately 2 feet in front of my face. Imagine if you were, say, 3 feet in front of my face, or closer. I mean, not closer, but a more comfortable distance, or maybe even 6 feet from me. Maybe that's a more comfortable distance. Some places it's a comfortable distance between the two bodies. Some people, their comfort zone is just inches or even touching. And other people, their comfort zone is like, well, they want 10 feet or more between them. But on general, I think like 3 to 4 feet or something like that, people are generally fairly comfortable, like when they're sitting and talking at a table or something of that nature. So imagine if you're physically in close proximity to me physically, and I'm experiencing internal turmoil, and I'm experiencing internal confusion, and then physically it's emitting out of my body, and you're sitting there with your body, and then it's like, are you perceiving it? Are you experiencing some of my misery? Is that one of the reasons why you experience misery when you experience misery? Because people who are close proximity to you are experiencing misery? One of the reasons you experience anger, do you sometimes experience anger because somebody else in your close proximity is angry? Or when you experience sadness, do you sometimes experience sadness as a result of not anything you did, but something that someone near you in close proximity is experiencing? They're feeling it, they're emitting it, now you're feeling the sadness, and you wonder, why am I feeling sad for no particular reason? There's no reason for me to feel sad. Why am I feeling sad? Well, who in your environment is feeling sad? And what do they have to feel sad about? Perhaps they had some major loss in life. Maybe someone they were really close to died. Maybe someone they're really close to was suffering and in pain, and that made them feel sad. Maybe someone told them to feel miserable about themselves. Maybe someone told them that they should feel sad. You should be sad about that. I've heard that many times. Have you ever heard that? You should be sad about that. You should feel miserable about yourself. The mind is an interesting thing. But now, going back to where I started earlier, I was talking earlier on who am I? Why am I the way I am? See, that's the question. Why am I the way I am? Well, how is it that I am? Am I confused? Am I certain? Am I happy? Am I cheerful? Am I miserable? Am I alive? Am I dead? Am I physically active? Am I physically stationary? Am I, and here's the thing also, am I pretending to be something that I'm not? Am I pretending to be something I'm not? That's an interesting question. The preacher says, when you die, you're going to hell for all eternity. Fire and brimstone, eternal misery. But if you accept Jesus, you get to go to heaven for all eternity. And experience bliss and joy and love and streets paved with gold. And that's a confusion thing too. It's like if money is such a bad thing, or the love of money is such a bad thing, why would the streets be paved with gold? Gold is a highly valued, is a sought after thing in the world. Hey Joe, I'm recording a video telling a story.
Go on, don't bother, don't mind me.
Well, my insecurity is going to have me shut it off and then continue the story later, because it's like I'm going to show this video to the world, I think, at some point, but I'm not prepared yet. Did you lose something?
Yeah, one key to the van. Be unlucky, I gotta get some meds.
Oh, okay. And the show goes on. The show goes on. The show goes on. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. I'm going to pause this for a second. We'll continue in a moment.
So I did a